What I decided to do was create my own town and country wedding magazine based on my own big fat Indian wedding. I had been married a year prior, and my wedding looks nothing like a Jackie Onassis wedding. We don't wear white dresses. We wear red and gold, henna all over us. We don't just wear a solitaire diamond. We are just adorned in all colorful jewels. So I created a magazine profiling my own wedding. I didn't know where it would go, but I just had to show them that I understood your product, but this is who I am.
I'm Sam McKenna, and you're listening to the Show Me You Know Me show, a deep dive on the impact of personal connection and empathy from the perspective of some of the world's most successful executives. Our guest today is Anjali Virmani, Global Head of Creative Solutions at Time Out Media. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited about today's guest because we'll be looking at Show Me You Know Me from a different perspective, marketing. Anjali Virmani leads marketing efforts at Time Out Media, collaborating each week with over 10 global offices and Time Out's presence in 333 cities around the world. In her role, she's responsible for creating and executing global brand strategy along with managing advertising partnerships. In her own life, Anjali's had quite a journey. She moved from the UK to the US as a child and experienced the countless challenges that came with being an immigrant of Indian descent in America. I'm so excited to dive into your background and your history, but first tell us, you grew up in the UK. Tell us a little bit about that. What was that experience like?
My dad was from Bombay, India, and he came over to the UK in the 70s, as many did back then. He came over, he got his education, he went back to India, got married, came back, and that's where I was born, along with my two sisters. So the three of us were born in Manchester, England. Around 85, he decided he wanted to make a change. There was so much opportunity coming out of the States. He wanted to try something different. And so he just did this move to the US for a job. We knew some people in the DMV in the Maryland area, and we stayed with some friends, and he kind of started over here. I was 10 years old.
I, just like you, grew up overseas. So I was born in Switzerland and then traveled basically all over when I was a little kid and then moved to the States. Also, I think in the same area, because you and I are both from the DMV. If you are from the DMV, you know what that means. If you're not, it means the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. What was it like when you arrived?
I was very excited to come. I remember leaving the UK as a 10-year-old and saying, oh my God, I'm going to America, this big place, this big, exciting, amazing place that you see on TV. When I got here, I was very intimidated. First of all, I was a little brown girl with a British accent. There was a lot of, you talk funny. Why do you talk like that? That sort of thing. And I did find it challenging, and I lost my accent very quickly. I did learn how to assimilate, and I wanted to belong and be a part of everyone else and not feel like the odd man out. I didn't have the wherewithal then that I do now, where it's embrace your differences and that sort of mentality that I'm very much driven by now. But I was only 10. I assimilated. I navigated that world. I had never seen a ton of diversity in my life outside of South Asians and white British people. So I got to experience a whole new world of different types of people. But yeah, that was essentially the move. And then from there, our life and journey in America started. My sisters were 5 and 6. I was 10. So we kind of just picked up, came here, started over in search of this American dream. I think for me, it was really beneficial in the resilience factor. I think I had to learn that quickly. And at the end of the day, I think you spend your whole teenage years trying to assimilate and figure out where you belong and who you are. And I had to do that so early on. So I kind of feel like I had a head start.
What was it like when you came to the States? Did you get introduced to diversity out of the gate, or what was that experience?
I moved into a predominantly Black neighborhood, and I'd never seen a Black person before. And I just wanted to be all a part of it. Because first of all, coming from England, being around white British people, being a brown person, you did not belong there. You didn't belong around a community that was just all Black, but you felt like you belonged more. I mean, there was resemblance. I could see a part of me in different people. And I just felt it to be a little bit more relatable than being around blonde hair, blue eyes all the time. I remember making friends and friends coming over and loving Indian food and not having the same experience in England with my British friends. I just didn't have that. It was a different time. Everyone eats a samosa now. Everyone eats butter chicken. I get it. But it just was not like that in the 80s. And no one was eating it in their home. It wasn't prevalent. I did feel I wasn't Black. I'm not white. I'm brown, I'm Indian, but I felt like I had a place somewhere.
What was it like when you eventually went over to college and everything? You decided, I think you moved from DC, right? And decided to give it a shot as an actor.
There was a lot of steps in between, but yes, I was born in the 70s and I was supposed to be a doctor, lawyer, or accountant. There was nothing above or beyond. I did some finance work and that seemed to satisfy the parents. And then when I came back from my travels, I really wanted to explore something creative. So I went to acting school. I was in the world of acting for approximately 2 years. I ended up at a part-time gig marketing while I was acting. But what I liked about acting is finally it helped me tell my story properly. Like I never had the words or the format, or I didn't know how to express myself and find the feelings. I mean, I come from a strict South Asian family. We're not talking about our feelings. I kind of like found all of that in the world of acting while I was in New York, just exploring that side of myself.
How did you break the news to your parents that you were going in a different direction?
Well, I think coming from an immigrant family, the best thing to do is be self-sufficient, right? They've left their home, they've come to a different place that they're unfamiliar with, and they just want to know that you're safe, you're taken care of, you have a roof over your head, and you can feed yourself, right? So for me, I had achieved that. I was in a place where I was like, listen, I don't need anything from you. I need to try this. I promise you I'll be okay. And that's sort of the approach I took.
One of the favorite quotes that I talk about all the time is the idea that your greatest joy is on the other side of fear. But for you, anything you can think of where you felt that same way?
There was something I always wanted to do. I wish I'd taken a gap year, and essentially I just did it in my mid-20s, right? I did 6 months after my finance job in my mid-20s. I'm now a mother. I have two 10-year-old boys, and I will encourage all of this experience and dipping into this stuff as much as possible, because when you are young, your mind is that open. You're not stressed about building a career in a future. You have that, but it's not driving everything, right? You don't rely on it to feed a family or whatever your situation might be. I wish that I had done the gap year because the jobs all came, the career came. I'm very happy with where I am. I just got here in a very funny way, I would say. I've had a couple different careers. That is the one thing I wish I'd done right away after college.
One thing I wanted to know on the Show Me You Know Me front, this helped you land an incredible job and your first legitimate writing job, in fact. Tell us about that. How did that come around?
I started in this industry in media as a freelancer. I got really lucky. I worked at Oprah as an events freelancer, and I did that through a connection. Just like many of us do here in the city, we have to utilize our connections. After that freelance job ended, there was an opening at Town and Country, also under the Hearst family, and it was for a promotional manager, and I hadn't done that job before. I was lucky that I got an internal introduction because I was already within the Hearst family, but then I really needed to land the job. And there was a lot of other people applying for this job, also internally within Town and Country. So I went through my interviews. I did my interviews really well. The third final part of this interview process was to create a project. Now, the project was represent the Town and Country brand in any format that you choose. And just for some background, Town and Country is a publication that's really affluent. It is catered towards the wealthy. It features the Kennedys and socialites, and it's got fashion and jewelry. It focuses a lot on jewelry, actually, but then also real estate and all sorts of things that you would associate with a very affluent life. At that time, it had a quarterly wedding magazine. Again, it's like Jackie Onassis' wedding and a bunch of socialites. I had nothing in common with this brand, but I liked it. I thought it was so pretty and I was so excited. I liked looking at the clothes and the jewelry. Fast forward, what I decided to do was create my own Town and Country wedding magazine based on my own big fat Indian wedding. I had been married a year prior, and my wedding looks nothing like a Jackie Onassis wedding. We don't wear white dresses. We wear red and gold, blue, green, whatever you want, henna all over us. We don't just wear a solitaire diamond. We are just adorned in all colorful jewels. So I created a magazine profiling my own wedding. I didn't know where it would go, but I just had to show them that I understood your product, but this is who I am. I understand this product. I think we could push this product. It's not my job to do that. I mean, I was going in for a marketing role, but I just wanted the hiring manager to see that I know what you're trying to do here. I get it. I get who you are. but this is who I am. And we could do the same thing. It was bold.
What a risk to go in a bold, different direction. And I think also probably just what a way to demonstrate your passion about, hey, we need to bring in a little bit of diversity. Not everybody loves solitaires. Not everybody loves just white everything. I think about that with how you even think about your focus on diversity and DEI issues now with marketing. How do we be more inclusive with the way that we market? We think about the brands and the individuals we cover. How's that changed? And what do you think we need to think about now?
That landscape is changing all of the time, and it is really complicated. I do come from a great big advantage because a brand like Time Out has been focusing on diversity from the very beginning, just by focusing on cities itself. But when we partner with different advertisers, my goal is to make sure that whatever we create speaks to everyone in an authentic way. We don't try to be everything to everyone, but we do make sure we are as inclusive as possible in our tone, in our language, in our imagery, and not in a forceful way. Well, we did this campaign a couple of years ago. We worked with Maybelline, and they were working on a Fit Me product, which is a foundation that had a different range of shades. It was extremely inclusive, and they were trying to make it even more inclusive. And that's kind of where we came in. We were able to profile couples that were dating and telling people where to date. It did not matter what your orientation was, what your color. We don't care. And we were telling those stories from the first person perspective. So it was super authentic and came together really nicely. We weren't just plastering different faces everywhere, which has happened. What we're doing is developing content for engagement. If you span everyone with something that's inauthentic and doesn't resonate with everyone, you're just not getting engagement. You're hurting your business. So at the end of the day, we create campaigns and content that's supposed to resonate with an audience and increase engagement on our site or with a brand, or however we're setting up the campaign. Without an authentic voice, without the thoughtfulness you need to address different communities, you're just not getting the engagement. And now it's digital marketing. It's all in the numbers. You can see it.
Any tips you would have for those people who want to make a bigger splash there of like how to present, how to get somebody that might be a little bit more traditional, conservative, buttoned up to be a little bit more mindful of the impact that the diversity can have and should have in our marketing efforts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a very clean answer for that because it can be hard, but I will say you do need to start hiring more diversity, right? If you want to speak to a diverse crowd, you have to hire diversity and not just to check the DEI box, like genuinely want to integrate your company. It only helps everybody grow, learn, and expand their thinking. Outside of that, very top line, getting educated around it, what your service is, how it can help all different types of people. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort, but it's all worthwhile. I think it improves businesses all around if you do have this as a genuine focus.
One of the things that we hear about Show Me You Know Me all the time is, oh my gosh, it takes so much effort, right? Well, I'm going to have to care. I'm going to have to look at somebody's profile. I'm going to have to invest in them. God forbid, we should make an effort, right? But think about that from a marketing perspective. What impact do we have when we make that effort?
Well, I mean, I'm really proud of the work I do. If I'm going to spend all of this time developing something, I want it to resonate with someone. Otherwise, I'm just wasting my time. I'm not just punching a clock. That's not the kind of career I have. I love what I do. I want to make a difference, and I want to make a difference, a small difference in somebody's life, even if it's like a piece of content that makes them smile, or an advertising campaign that resonates with a young brown girl who's like, I've never seen anyone on a campaign that looks like me. She might be queer. She might be non-binary. She might have a lot of different things going on. But all of a sudden, we've made a connection. And guess what? I have a reader for life. I'm not even thinking about that in the inception of this stuff. But that's just such a nice byproduct that I get to have a loyal consumer that wants to look at the work that we do. And then I think at the end of the day, you want to create work and spend your time on something that you feel good about. The Show Me You Know Me is imperative in just being effective.
Okay, now I want to shift to how you actually ended up getting your dream job, because I think there's a great lesson to be learned in how you used your own initiative and you were really proactive here.
Yeah, so the dream job, again, a very funny path, but I was freelancing because I'd had my children and I was home and just taking on different projects. I actually started a small marketing company called Chai Time. And what I was doing was helping moms with their small businesses, because here I am in New York City. We're all acting like we're staying home, but every mom in New York City is like, nope, I'm starting this clothing line. I'm starting this coffee shop. I'm starting this e-commerce platform. And I said, you know what? Over coffee, I'm having all these brilliant conversations with all these incredible women. And I said, why don't I help you market your business? So I started this small business. I helped a bunch of women just put their social media plan together, just do the stuff that I've always been doing. And that ended up leading to me having a client timeout where they needed some help and consulting. So I ended up working at timeout. So I get there and slowly I'm losing my clients because I don't have time to do all of the work that I have, but I'm really enjoying the work. I mean, timeout is city-based. It's all about travel. It's about food. It's about culture. It's everything that I am. It ended up just being this beautiful fit. Within a few months, there was an opening for a full-time job that I applied for and I got it. I just have never looked back.
Okay, last question. If somebody wanted to get a meeting with you, what do they need to do? How do they stand out to get you to say, yes, I'll spend 20 or 30 minutes hearing about something that benefits you?
So for me, it's about the subject line. I really need to know that this person has done their due diligence. They know what I do. They know what I care about. And in this day and age, in the digital day and age, everything is everywhere. My LinkedIn has got everything on it. I'm posting regularly. You can find me on social media. And I think that is the way to cut through the noise because I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of requests. And I just need to know that you have done something to show that you know who I am a little bit.
What we always say too, right, is that if you want somebody to give you time, you need to show them that you've given them the time before they've agreed to. It's to meet with you. It's exactly in line with what we always say. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was great and so insightful. Some things I learned from Anjali today I really want to point out. First, try anything and everything. It all adds up. When Anjali wanted to pursue acting, she did. When she wanted to take time off to travel and work for herself, she did. And throughout all those experiences, she gained a lot of learnings which helped her get to where she is now. Don't be afraid to do something different. Even if it feels like it's off course or unusual, you'll gain skills and knowledge you can use later and likely have a better experience as you go. Second, challenge the norm. Anjali knew Town and Country loved wedding spreads, but she also knew they'd never featured an Indian one. She didn't see that as a roadblock, but rather as an opportunity. Show Me You Know Me is seeking out those ways to catch people off guard, demonstrate your own expertise, and allow them to see what you have to offer. What a fabulous way to not only connect with those readers, but with a whole new audience. All right, it's time for Sam Spills. First question comes from Kevin in Greenville, South Carolina. How can we offer value and help prospects or guide them without being overly pushy in the sales process? Oh my gosh, speaking my language. So I think one of the things that I personally love about sales is that I can be as unpushy as possible and still win in big ways. When I thought about sales in the beginning, I really thought, ugh, right? And that's a reputation that sales has that I'm actively trying to change. But I think that there are so many things you can do to not be pushy or to not be aligned with the norms of the sales process and still succeed. So on the pushy front, one of the things that I would tell you is always join your calls through the lens of being there to solve a problem, not to sell a service. What that means is that you then start to add value. You naturally ask questions. You naturally ask active listening questions, and you start to think about how you can solve the challenges they suspected you could solve for them, which basically leads to your sale anyway. I'm not showing up to a call to pitch everything I have. I'm showing up to give 30 minutes of my time to figure out what they're challenged with, what the tasks are they have ahead of them, what the goals are they have ahead of them, and then hopefully see how I can help. Best part about this, if I can't help, I can probably refer them to somebody who can. Next question comes from Nizam, all the way from Bangladesh. What's your approach to work-life balance as a busy sales leader? That's a bit of a challenging question for me to answer because I've never been great at it. And I will tell you, one of the things that I like to do is really think about how my work can integrate with my life. Now, we're not so lucky maybe to get to do that if we have to be in the office from 9 to 5, or we are junior in our career and we're required to work certain hours. But I would say as you continue to ascend in your career, think about how you can really build your life into your work. So maybe that means that you start to work from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then at 8 o'clock you go for a run for an hour and then you come back to work. Or think about maybe having an honest conversation with your boss to say, I work really effectively early mornings, late nights. Is there a way that I can switch my calendar around a bit? I also think about this from the perspective of how to protect your time. So every single time we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else, right? So yes to another client engagement or project might be no to that workout class we wanted to take, or it might be no to time with our family, or no to the education that we're trying to seek outside of work. So you really have to think about this of how to protect your time. Think about blocking off. Maybe it's 3 hours a week that you give to mentoring or to pro bono efforts or to things that don't benefit your bottom line or your goals. And once those 3 hours are gone, you move on to the next week. What I mean by that is if somebody comes to me and says, "Do you have time?" I'll say, "Oh, my 3 hours are gone. You've got to book into next week." So now, let's say they wanted an hour, 2 hours from next week are still left. And if I get a few more asks this week for time, maybe I'll fill those 2 hours next week. But then it goes into the next week and the next week. If you've ever wondered how executives say to you sometimes, "I'm booked until 6 months ahead of now," and you're like, "How is that possible?" It's probably because they're really good at protecting their time, just like that. Thanks as always for those great questions. And of course, I have so much gratitude for our guest, Anjali Virmani, for taking the time to share her story. It was fascinating. And now we all know how to get a job at Town & Country, which just happens to be one of my favorite magazines. I'd once again like to thank Courtney Garcia, our producer of the show, and Paige Tills. And I want to thank our growing audience who continues to support Samsales across all the spaces and places we like to hang. Our theme music is a song called All at Sea by the artist Zediel. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. And if you want to stay up to date on all events and resources coming from Samsales, our newsletter is a great resource for that as well. You can find links in the show notes on this episode. That is all. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll talk to you again soon.